How's everything been going with you the last few weeks since we last talked?
Yeah, going well. I've been thinking about what we are discussing and what you are telling us and going through the material. It's really helpful. So, helping me organize my thoughts.
That's great. That's good to hear. Uh, all right. Well, yeah. So we're on week 4 now. We're just about halfway through, and this week it's all about productization and finding a supplier. So, what is productization? We talked a little bit in the last module about this, but really what we want to do is break down the product category or idea into smaller digestible pieces. So think about product families and hierarchies. So you have a primary product, and then that can break down into a secondary and even tertiary and further breakdown of the product. So where is the opportunity? Most companies don't do a very good job of this. Their products are just posted all over their website. It's hard to navigate. It's hard to conceptually think about what they're selling many times. So international companies in particular, especially companies where English is a second language, they have severe gaps in doing this. They'll post a complete machine with a picture and that's it. There won't be any product description. There won't be any explanation about what it does. It's just assumed that the customer that's looking at the website knows exactly what this machine does and what it is. And many times that's not the case, especially nowadays where people are moving around a lot within industries and within jobs. It's not like 20, 30, 40 years ago where you had someone at GE for 30 years and they just knew, what every machine does. In many cases, it's purchasing people, it's base level engineers that get assigned a project that gets pushed all the way down to them. So your job as the business owner and as the primary marketer is to help them figure out what they're looking at, help them learn the product, help them understand what they need to buy. So when you do this, they'll be 50, 60, 70% of the way through the sales cycle before they even reach out, before they even self-identify as a lead to you by sending you a message. So that's what you want to do. And this is where you come in. So you give the content and knowledge for free, and then you receive back the leads in the business. So how to do it? So there is actually something called productization theory or product category theory, and it's over here on the right. We won't talk about all this. It's a little bit overcomplicated, but essentially what you do is you take pieces of the product, you put them together to make a different product, you separate them back apart to make individual products. The products link to each other, they associate with each other. So what you want to do is figure out the best way to do this. And
Sorry, Frank, are you
yeah.
sharing your screen? I can't
Oh,
see it.
sorry about that. Let me share. I got a couple things running here. Thanks, Shahab. Let's see. The screen. Okay, here we go. All right. So we're just on page 2 here, and this is the product categorization 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 theory formula. So X and Y, X splits to Y, and you have Z. So don't think about this too much, but this is actually something that's taught in business school. Really, all it means is that you can separate out products, you can put products together to make them more. So customers are looking for this information, but they can't find it. Or if they can find it, it's really not presented in a way that's easily digestible. So you're able to do it better because you care the most about it. You're spending the most time, you're the most motivated, and then most importantly, you have the most to gain. So if you think about a low level marketer or agency, SEO agency, or some online marketing agency, they don't really care that much because they aren't getting paid that much. But for you and for your business, doing this in the correct way could essentially net you millions of dollars over a 5 to 10 year period. So because of that, you're investing the most effort and energy into breaking down these products. So the way to do it is to answer your own questions. And this is best to be done when you're first starting out. So this early time is really perfect for you because you're going to have all these questions too. You're going to think, okay, I have this machine. What is the plug for it? What sort of electricity hookup do I need? That's a great thing to talk about in the content. So you have a picture of the correct plug. You talk about the correct voltage and amps that the machine needs. These are all buying questions that customers will have. So as you're thinking like, how do I integrate this? How do I actually deliver it to the customer? At the same time, the customer is going to think, how do I actually get this product? How do I install it? How do I get it working? So you want to answer all of these questions in your website stuff, in your YouTube channel, in your blog posts. So you want to break things down in a unique way. And the way to do this is just always be thinking about the questions and answering the questions and then displaying it in the easiest way. So a lot of companies, what they do is they just copy the categorization method, which is already established in the industry. And sometimes that's good, but in a lot of industries where it's new or different or there's some changes happening, right? You want to do it differently. So you don't want to just do it alphabetically or just do it based on um, something you saw on another website because they're probably not doing it well. So you want to think about the names of the product, targeting keywords, how those keywords interact with the other products. So each page, video, post answers a specific question and highlights a specific product. So one keyword or batch of keywords, like a phrase, like two or three words together, that's one keyword, right? And then you're going to have that page connected to that keyword. So over time, these groups of ideas and groups of products, they'll coalesce in your mind, and your subconscious will actually put them in together into the correct way that they should be shown to the customer. Just if you stare at this stuff for long enough, it starts to congeal into something that is easily shown. So that's really your value add. If you think about it, is you spend maybe 10, 20, 100 hours looking at this products and product categories, and then someone who's only has a minute or two to spend looking online, you have the information in laid out in the exact way for them to easily absorb it. All right, so where to start? So if we think of the microscope example, I use this just because everyone conceptually knows what a microscope is for the most part. So you have the base or the stage, you have different lenses, the lighting, the ocular lens. A lot of times now there's software involved with digital microscopes and taking pictures on your computer, doing all sorts of post-processing. There's consumables and accessories. So when you're just starting, you want to start with something small, like accessories or consumables. The reason for that is there's less keyword competition. So it's going to be easier to rank up on Google, and then the sales cycle is faster. People don't need as many approvals to make the decision. If they need a microscope lens for $3,000 or $4,000, that's pretty easy. You can put it on a credit card if you're a business. You don't need like a full purchasing request and all these signatures. It's also lower risk for you. So if anything goes wrong, like it's the wrong part or there's some quality issue, it's not as big of a financial risk as say like a $250,000 machine that has to ship via freight and has a lead time of 3 months. So start with something small, and then also it's easier to find supply. So once you start doing that sales cycle a couple times, to get more comfortable with how you're acquiring the leads, how they're coming in, the sorts of questions they're asking, Also, you can upsell them over time. So these customers will come back to you year after year because the first time was easy to for you to deal with them, like they got the product, the purchasing process was relatively simple and straightforward. There wasn't a lot of red tape. Customers really, really like this. And they'll also buy into your story. So as long as your about me section on your website has really good copy, talks about you, you're a real person, um, you started this business, you're working really hard at it, that sort of theme, people gravitate towards that rather than just buying from some large conglomerate. Sure, there's some cases where, they want to have that quality brand name, but in most cases, people love supporting small businesses and entrepreneurs. So you want to highlight that, especially in the beginning. Just be honest and real and straightforward with people. Like, hey, look, this is my business. We provide great support. We provide fast answers. So start small there. And then what I want you to do, and this is a mistake that I made in my business for many years, is that I sort of got stuck in the medium. So when I say medium, like medium ticket, medium products, like I should have focused my website development and my energy and my effort and my time on the large stuff because that's what actually moves the needle. So in the last year or so, I switched from doing like medium accessories and like subsystems to going full to like full machine builds, bidding on the biggest projects, bidding on projects with multiple systems, big installations. So once you get comfortable with marketing and selling the accessories, go big. This will accelerate your timeline in the business. All right, so this is a easy diagram of what productization actually looks like. So you have the root, which is your homepage or your general page, and then you have the product category, which could be electronics. That breaks down into something like televisions and video, and then you break into the individual TVs, the individual product categories for the TVs, and then the actual products individually. So I'll talk about what each page looks like. There's 4 different page structures. One is a list page, one is the individual product page. We'll talk about that. So you want to generate product categories and product trees. Start with one group of products that you're most comfortable with, and then this is the URL hierarchy that you'd want on your website. So we showed this last week, but really just hammering again, your URL slugs, which is what these are, need to look like this. And not for every single product that you offer. Some products could have a short tree. So in those cases, you just want to go from your site straight to the product list. You don't necessarily need to have a tree. As you go further and further down into the URL hierarchy, each URL has its own authority score within Google, and it'll be lower and lower. But the most important thing is not to cannibalize your keywords with improper hierarchies. And I'll show what that means. So again, you have this example on the right where sports breaks down into basketball, soccer, and then you have shoes and equipment, and those break down into individual products. So you are the SEO architect for your website. SEO is a whole nother thing that you can actually specialize and build a career in. But for you, you're just going to use like the gist of it. And the main thing is that good content presented in the correct way always wins with SEO. So there's a lot of things like backlinks and doing these like black hat or frowned upon methods, like having keywords the same color as your background so they look invisible. Now the Google engine is smart enough to pick up on stuff like that. So you want to avoid any sort of like dishonest practices like that. And you want to just go with like clear cut, straightforward information. So pictures are a great way. When you load a picture onto your website, you want to add the alt text. Alt text is a little window when you click on the picture inside your website designer. It asks you what is in the picture, and that tells Google or Bing or some other search engine what it's looking at. And then keywords cannibalization. You don't want to cross-pollinate across your products and across your keywords. You want to basically have the most information in the product, in the main product page. So your product page is maybe like 1,000 or 2,000 words. You have a hero image, a hero video, headings, description, and then all of the product categories, all the things that it links into. You have all of that in one big page. So everyone knows like that is the product page for microscopes. And then you go down into the next one, which could be light-based microscopes. So anything with just like regular wavelength light. And that is your first product family page. And that's more of a list. You have a little description on the top, and then the list goes down. But you're not trying to have that be your primary page. So you don't want to go overboard on the text and overboard on the explanation about what a microscope is. You want to make it focused on that category of microscopes. And then as you drill down even further, you go to the individual page. Maybe a light microscope for analyzing blood samples, whatever that might be called. That's your individual product page. That is very descriptive about that long tail specific keyword. And then the last type of page is an orphan page where it's not linked on this product page. It's either on a blog or on your info page section, your resources. That one links laterally over to your product pages. So your product categories and your product families is sort of a vertical linkage and a vertical tree or bridge. And then the orphan pages link laterally. And when I say link, you backlink certain texts like sentences with your keywords that you're talking about. You take like a rich backlink of 4 or 5 keywords, like the last part of a sentence or even like a whole sentence, and you link that back to your product page. So website structure, again, this is super important, which is why I kind of harp on this. If you do this wrong to start, it's just going to take you a lot of time to go and fix it later. I'm fixing things from 10 years ago. Actually, last night I saw a huge mistake with how I did this on my website, and I finally fixed it. And I've been looking at, my search results almost every day for like 10 years, wondering why my pages aren't ranking higher. And then I found a mistake, which was how I was doing the URL slugs and organizing this hierarchy. Basically, my pages were all competing against each other instead of being in the hierarchy with the parent page up top and then the child pages below. So critically important to do this. What a lot of folks do where the website is bad is they just have the home site or the home page, and then it's super flat. Like everything is just linked off the home page. So there's like only 2 levels. You want to have these 3, 4, 5 levels all going up and all building up into that main topic page. All right, so that's productization. Does anyone have any questions on productization? Is it clear kind of how to do it?
Yeah, so I guess like looking at that website structure, so you got your home page, main topic pages could be, I guess like even product categories, or maybe
Yes.
eventually offer like other services. Subtopic pages would be like product specific pages, I guess, right? And then is there, I'm not super familiar with like the keyword cannibalization, like for posts. like even on the website too, right? Like there's different call to action buttons and stuff where you're trying to get people to contact you or whatever. So posts, do you recommend posts and other like, start putting out technical articles or whatever, that kind of content? Should that relate to specific product pages, or could that also go to, a full category, or is that not necessarily recommended?
Yeah, so the posts and the blog posts, think about those as the orphan pages on the sides, and then they link laterally. So in those pages, you want to answer questions or have tutorials or provide information. And then as you're providing that information, you're linking back to the individual page. So with keyword cannibalization, don't be afraid to like mention a keyword on any page. What it's about is the main product keyword that you're targeting for that page has the most information about that. So it's hyper specific. So if, and then the posts could talk about like 3 or 4 different keywords. And then as you're mentioning those, you link back to page 1, page 8, page 14. And the pages aren't numbered, they're just with different categories or products or whatever you're talking about. So if you talk about, so say with the microscope example, you have your microscope product pages, you have your lenses and your lighting and your stages. Then you make a post, what is a microscope? And you talk about all the different things and you break down each section. So you maybe only write 2 or 3 sentences about a stage and 2 or 3 sentences about lighting. And then in those 2 or 3 sentences, you link back to your product page. And then your product page has like 10 paragraphs about what a microscope stage is or what a microscope lighting looks like.
I see. Sure. Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So you want to make sure, like, you wouldn't want to do a post about and go heavy into just one thing like microscope lighting, because then that's starting to cannibalize your main page. If you want to just go heavy into that, just build into your main product page that information and then keep the posts a little bit more general. The post is really to like capture attention. It's really to educate the potential customer. So it needs to be broader by design. It's called demand generation. And then your product pages are demand capture. So once they find exactly what they're looking for and exactly what they need to purchase, then you're capturing it on those individual product pages.
I see. Okay. So is keyword cannibalization kind of like if you're directing too much of your traffic towards what was it, like almost like lead generation or whatever, instead of actually like capturing those leads?
Yeah, exactly. So you wanna drive everyone to the product pages. And keyword cannibalization is more about like how you're thinking about keyword. Like you don't want to make 10 topics, 10 product pages that are all kind of the same thing. So like with how I'm structuring this, that's why productization is so important, is because you're separating out and like literally with a knife carving out, okay, this belongs here, this belongs here, without too much overlap. And the way you handle overlap is to link the pages together rather than putting everything on one page or having the pages sort of like a mishmash of information.
Sure. Yep. Yeah. Almost like a better channel or a better funnel for capturing business.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
you won't, it's not really an issue. It's just like, say you have your main topic page for microscopes and that's 1,000 words no, say it's 300 words or 500 words. It's kind of thin, right? And then you go
Sure.
into the product posts like all the way down the bottom, and those are huge pages, super technical with like 2,000 words, and you're getting into theory and all this explanation stuff. That should actually belong in your main topic page rather than the product
Okay.
page.
Yeah.
Yeah, the product page is just like this is the product, this is the schematic, and then the product page also is where you want to put all your PDFs. So your data sheets, all your stuff. You don't want to put your data sheets in your list. So you want to think about the squirrel trying to find a nut, and they're like frantically searching around, frantically searching around. They start to recognize things. Oh, this looks familiar. Oh, I'm starting to smell the nut. Okay, now I see the PDF. I click that. I download it. I look at it. Okay, this is good info. I need this. I reach out for a lead.
Makes sense. Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And this is something that is so valuable for your business. I would not outsource this part because your voice, your knowledge, and how you're structuring this, there's really no way to like transfer that to an SEO agency or person. It would be like very difficult to do. And also, your advantage is that you're doing this yourself as the most knowledgeable person, as the business owner, as the authority, rather than telephone game. Where all the companies make the mistake is that they move their marketing to the lowest person in the organization. So if you've worked at companies, you just kind of know like the marketing department, right? It's always like interns, people only like 1 or 2 years into the industry. It's very, very typical that that's the case. And then your salespeople are the 20, 30-year-old veterans. That's actually a backwards way of doing it. So to be truly, truly successful and to actually beat some of these old companies, you flip the switch. You go heavy into marketing, and then sales is really just more like order taking. Marketing is also something you can scale. Sales is harder to scale because it needs to be you or a salesperson. There's AI and ways to scale it, but marketing, like you post something and anyone can see it's one to many. Sales is like one to one. So if you're trying to like find a crack in the system and find a hack, find a glitch in the matrix, it's to focus more on marketing and less on sales. So that's why I don't recommend just to go cold calling people and cold DMing on LinkedIn and cold email. It's an inbound strategy, and what it does, it works for you while you're sleeping, it works for you while you're on vacation, it works for you every second of every single day, whereas outbound really only works when you're doing it. So this is a big mindset shift if you're coming from sales to business ownership. Is marketing is now more important than sales, whereas before sales was more important than marketing. All right, so finding a supplier. This is the second section for this week. This really, just being honest with you, is more of a mental hurdle than anything else. A lot of people get hung up on this, and it really just doesn't matter. Not that it doesn't matter. It comes together more easily than it seems. And the only thing I can say is just trust me on that. So what you want to do is you want to start with research. So you want to find who potentially are the good suppliers that you could work with. So things to look for: international OEMs, because they're less likely to have established sales offices in the US. They also really value people who speak English without a harsh accent because it helps with sales. So if you speak like and write like really good, clear English, already someone in Denmark or Germany or France, they're going to find value in that. And they're pushing. The US is the biggest market in the world. So every other country is looking to export into the US. It's kind of like the holy grail. Like France selling to Germany, yeah, it's business, but they don't get excited about that. They get excited about selling into the US. So it's always their top international sales rep. You always get really good treatment from these OEMs if you're going international. Similar in the US, like if you buy something from another US based company, it's just kind of like not special. Maybe you're in a different state. There's people care less about that. Once you're talking international business into the US, it sells a lot more at these OEMs. So you want to look for companies that have been in business for many years, but maybe they have issues with their marketing. They have thin websites, their SEO isn't good, they have a lot of like misspellings, or half of it's in their native language and then the other half is in broken English, and the PDFs are kind of not great. You want to look for good documentation and a good product, and you can kind of see, you kind of know quality, especially in machines when you see it. Like especially there's different countries that are better at manufacturing. Like everyone knows Germany is very good. There's sort of like tiers, right? There's like your main tier, and I would just put maybe US, or not even US, I would put Germany in there, Japan, always good products. Then there's your second tier, and I'd probably put US and China both in the second tier. I'd probably put big manufacturing companies or countries like Turkey is a big one, um, Mexico is where a lot of manufacturing is happening now. And then your third tier, probably where you want to stay away from, like companies in the Philippines, or um, different parts of South America. Like there's just not a lot of manufacturing quality there. You want to look for quality, you want to look for established businesses who have been around for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. These are companies that they build really good products, but their marketing is absolutely terrible. They've kind of been left behind by time, right? They're not able to keep up with everything that's going on the internet. That's where you step in. ISO 9001 manufacturing, that's a big plus. Not plug, plus. And you can ask them for their certification. That's a great question to ask in the interview, the supplier interview, when you're actually like negotiating for the first time and doing an informational meeting. And then the Forex and currency rates. So this is good to pay attention to. It's not as important, but US generally is strong in terms of currency. The dollar is strong. And then countries where the currency is kind of weak, you can get a little bit of a arbitrage there. Basically, you can buy really good equipment for cheap. They'll readjust their prices if it gets too out of whack. Like if the currency just crashes, they'll readjust their price. But this is just another way that you can get additional margin. And then it also provides value for the customer, because it's probably very difficult for them to send a wire to a foreign country, organize all the shipping and receiving, and get it into the US and all the paperwork. That's where you come in. So research 5 or 10 suppliers that you like their equipment, you could potentially deal with. Once you do that, just start posting. So you want to begin before you're ready. This is why so many people talk about starting a business. Like you go to any dinner with friends or anything. Everyone has a business idea, right? Literally everyone. But very few actually do anything with it, and it's because they think that something is going to happen in their life, or there's going to be some event when they start, like give them the reason to start. In truth, you want to just start. So find some related products that you can buy off Amazon or a similar wholesale type of site. So even for my main business, Universal Grip, I found some manual tensile testers that you turn a crank to test. They test up to 100 pounds. It costs like $150 to buy that on Amazon or eBay. I could very easily take that and sell it for 500 and put it into my product categories, and I might just do that. Um, the only reason I wouldn't is because I'm selling bigger products. So I'd rather sell a $50,000 machine and focus the marketing on that. But when you're starting, you basically just want to get your hands on anything and actually get used to doing the marketing, doing the quotes, doing the sales, doing the shipping, collecting the money, just as practice. Like, don't even, you want to make money, you want to earn a profit on it, but don't worry so much about, like, am I making $1 million on this deal? Because you'll never get there when you're starting. It's impossible. So just start with something small. Start posting larger products too on your site. You want to start building out your site to make it look like you're established, you're doing this. So find just general pictures on Google search. I talked either last week or the week before about things you can do to make them unique. So flipping the image, cropping the image, adding multiple images together, taking images and adding writing onto them. These are all things that make the image unique. You'll be surprised at the attention you'll get. I'm honestly always continuously surprised by when I post something, who reaches out, someone that I don't know or someone from my past, someone that I've had interactions with that I never thought, would be interested. This is in the coaching business. And then when I started Universal Grip, within the first couple weeks, I was getting traffic to the website. And this was like completely organic, random traffic, just people on the internet searching for these products. And within the first few weeks, I got a lead. A couple weeks after that, I got a sale. I shipped it, and the rest is history. So you want to post blogs, videos, new pages on your website every day. You want to get obsessive about it. Jordan, we were talking about my video with the spiritual energy vessel. This is what you're building. You're building the vessel. You're pouring energy into it. Any sort of free moment you get, you're building towards the future. And again, this is something where it's like a permanent investment that can't be taken. So engaging suppliers, how do we actually do it? You want to start slow. Don't force it. I always get a lot of emails in my inbox where it's like, hey, we're so-and-so company from this country and we'd love to do business with you. And then they send me like 10 paragraphs of why they're so good. And they send me like 10 brochures and 10 things. Like, it's too much too soon. What you want to do is just make connections on LinkedIn. Just connect with people. Hey, we're in a similar industry. Let's connect. You want to appear as an industry insider. So you want to write these blogs on LinkedIn and these articles and be posting pictures, posting videos. If you have any questions about where to get those in your specific industry, that's what the one-on-ones are for. So I can actually help you find content to post as part of that hour that we work together. Once you get someone sort of on the hook, or once you find someone that's interesting and seems like they'd be a good fit, you want to use this script and you change it a little bit to fit the conversation, right? Don't just robotically read this, but more or less, this is what you want to say. You're having some trouble with lead times with your existing supplier or your current supplier. You're open to having a conversation about potential distribution, potential partnership here in the US. And then you want to make it their idea. So it kind of goes back to not forcing it. You want to have them sort of sell you a little bit on why they're the best, why their products are good. The biggest thing that they're looking for is mind share and effort. So with resellers, with distributors, which is what you are, you have a bunch of product categories. You have 5 or 10, or you will. And the ones that are most important are the ones where you make most money, and you're going to spend the most time on those. And that might only be 1 or 2 products or product categories or product suppliers. And then everyone else is sort of in the bottom, and it's just kind of like, yeah, we sell that, but like, that's not where I'm focusing my time. So what happens is a lot of these OEMs get grouped with their existing distributors into the bottom. And they're always fighting to get mind share, to get attention, to get the business owners for these distributors to care about their product and market their product. So that's where you come in, is you care the most about it because you don't have a ton of suppliers yet. You don't have an established business yet, but you don't tell them that. It's just like the reality. But because you're showing so much effort and you're so willing to work with them, they'll trust you and you move very quickly to the top of their importance list because they're important to you. You are important to them. And you want to kind of match that energy. So what to do next? As soon as you get a supplier on the hook and they start giving you some stuff, you want to immediately start posting and marketing their stuff. So videos, data sheets, LinkedIn posts, blog articles, web pages. Here are some tools. And again, on our one-on-ones, I can show you and train you on how to use these tools, how I use them. I'm also posting a lot of YouTube content on what I do to build content for B2B. So Clip Grab, super easy tool. You can pull YouTube videos. Basically, you just take the URL, throw it in, and then hit download. It'll give you the video. CapCut, this is an easy to use free video editor. You can get a premium version for free for, I think, the first year with no credit card, nothing, just an email. That's the one I use. There's other free ones like DaVinci, but that's like super heavy. And then there's lighter ones. This is a good kind of medium level video editor. Simple PDF. This is just an online tool to edit PDFs. You don't need Adobe Acrobat. And then Paint for images, just simple, easy. Again, a lot of this stuff, you don't need like all these crazy tools, all this crazy time. Like you just go in, pull an image, crop it, put two together, put some writing on it. Bam, you have like a unique image, which really explains the topic that you're trying to get across. Then you post it on your website, add some alt text, add some text around it, explaining what's in the picture. And then all of a sudden you've made a guide. And if the guide is good, it has great info, it's going to go up to number 1 in Google search when people start searching for this stuff. All right, so the week 4 wrap up. You want to finish your first product category tree on your website. So start with accessories, start with something easy, maybe like a single product category family that branches into 5 subproducts. That's great to start. Start posting those on LinkedIn and YouTube. Like, hey, I have these amazing microscope lenses and they're compatible with any other microscope via a C-mount standard attachment. And we have all these different versions and you can get them fast delivery. And then talk about what they do. They analyze biological material, super high quality, all its features, advantages, and benefits of this product, put it into posts. Research your suppliers, start engaging with them, connect, reach out on LinkedIn is great. You can also reach out on their website, put in a lead, ask for pricing, say you have a project. You want to sort of social engineer and research your way into a partnership. So fake it till you make it, start before you're ready, all of that stuff. You're not stealing anything, you're establishing business contacts. So get yourself in the door at these different suppliers. Once you get one, you'll be off and running because you can focus super heavily on what they sell. Chances are they already have a business. They're not starting from zero either. Like that goes back to your research. So if they're already running a $5 million business, which is nothing in B2B, then there's no reason why you can't take their products, market it in English, market it in the US, and succeed. It's just, it's easy. It's not that hard. Everyone else isn't trying as hard as you are. Everyone else isn't trying at all. Like the people you're competing against are like marketing interns that make 1 post a week, and you can make 10 posts in 2 hours if you like really try and use AI and all these tools that I mentioned. And then last but not least, use me to help. So reach out for those one-on-ones. It's a free hour of essentially work. I can be your customer, partner, investor, whoever I need to be. I can even just lead the conversation. So if you're not comfortable or not as experienced with it, like the first sort of supplier interview or engagement, I can just lead the conversation for you, do it, whatever you need. So that wraps up week 4. Does anyone have any final questions before we break for the day? And I will be posting the slides today, and then I'll be posting the video. A little bit behind on the videos, but I'll be posting those to the YouTube and to the school, onto the school course section. Any questions, Jordan or Shahab? Any feedback?
Yeah, I had a good question,
Yeah.
Frank, regarding what's going on lately throughout the world regarding tariffs and buying locally and supporting local businesses. Do you see that as an opportunity? Like, do you think there are enough small manufacturers or producers in the US itself who may need help in e-commerce or marketing their products? Or you still think we need to focus on international manufacturers and companies?
Yeah, there's definitely an opportunity. I will say the US is like very hollowed out at this point. Like it's very difficult to find an opportunity where you can get good product and they're not already like have distribution network. But certainly, like I have a few US based suppliers. It's not my primary. The thing with tariffs and international trade is that everyone's like scared of it. Like all of the highlights and headlines that you see is all hugely negative. And the truth is that this is just like a normal thing. Like there's always been tariffs. This is how countries actually exert dominance and control, is through like economic control. That's the whole reason the Navy exists. Like the whole reason for the Navy is to control the waterways. If you can control waterways, you can control trade. This is very like 1800s, 1900s, but we're still kind of like in that framework globally, is like who has control of the shipping lanes. But I'll tell you something. So Europe, right? You're talking about tariffs with Europe. So if I buy something for Europe and I put the shipping on my account, my UPS or FedEx account, it costs me like hundreds of dollars more than if my supplier puts and charges the shipping on their account and then they just charge me on the invoice. So to ship something from Germany to the US, if I make the label, it costs me $500. If they make the label, it costs like $100. So beyond tariffs, there's all sorts of like incentives and kickbacks and like government programs where like the pricing is artificially reduced. You want to the way to take advantage of that is to import. So like when you hear in the news that we're getting killed on trade in the US, we really are. Like and it's not just like these flat tariffs that you see in the headlines. It's all this other stuff, all these subsidies, all these tax credits. Like in China, a lot of the companies don't need to pay overhead for their real estate, like real estate taxes and all that stuff. Those are all like the tiny advantages that you give. So you want to find a chink in the armor, some crack in the wall, and that could be US to US based trade, certainly. So I wouldn't discourage you from that. It's just in my experience, I found the biggest opportunities are once you go international, just because everyone's scared of it, everyone's hesitant, everyone's kind of like it's too much effort, it's too much trouble. But in reality, it's really not. It's just that xenophobic nature that I think everyone has from our like prehistoric wiring, right? So yeah, look at both. That's when the research comes in. You want to look at pricing and look at everything. There's definitely suppliers in the US that are good. It's just you're less likely to find the arbitrage in that case. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for that like arbitrage, uncovered opportunity that no one else has found. Jordan, how about you? Any last questions before we wrap up for this week?
No questions at the moment, but no, this was helpful. This provides some helpful direction. So appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, gentlemen, thanks for joining. I will post these. If you have any questions or want to schedule those one-on-ones, let me know. The number line is open. Shoot me a text or give me a ring. Otherwise, I'll see you here next week for week 5.
Sounds good. Thanks, Frank.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Catch you later.
Take care. Bye.
All right.